Good morning, it's the 10th of February 2022, video 42B. I know the indexing is not great, but 42 has been hydrogen up to now. And so this is one just to finish off on hydrogen. I know you're probably sick of it, but I just want to finish it and get it out of the way. This is a piece of tin foil. It's made of aluminium, not tin. I'm going to roll it up. And you see the size of it there, you can figure out the size yourself. And here I have a bottle with water and sodium hydroxide, caustic soda in it. And when you put it in, it heats up. It's used as a drain cleaner, and it's used for cleaning on the farm. No better cleaner. And all the modern dishwashers would not work if it wasn't for it. So that's one row. It's dangerous if you happen to wash something in it and eat from it, it'll kill you. I mean, it's very, very strong alkaline. It's the opposite to an acid. So you see there we have two. We're going to pop them in, and I have a different device this time. We're learning a bit. It's just a 10 millimeter copper oil pipe and a little valve, and the valve is open. So we pop that in there if I can, and we get it burning, and then we'll go on and give the presentation while it's doing the job. And so we immediately see hydrogen coming off. The problem is, because it's exothermic, it gives off an awful lot of heat. You also get smoke, steam. You get steam from the water. So you can't really say that it's fully hydrogen. It's partly water. So now there's lighting. So we let it light there. You saw what went in. You let it light, and just to prove that I'm not making it up. Here's a match that's extinguished. There's the dead end of it. And we're just going to light the match, and there's the match lighting from it. So it's a real flame. It would boil the kettle if you had enough of it. Now, we'll see how long it'll burn. So we're going to just go through the last remaining bit of this thing about hydrogen. And it's the most common element in the universe, but it's not the most common element on Earth. It has already went through the process of converting to other substances, such as water. And what's happening here is that this is burning in the oxygen in the air, and it's giving off a little drop of water, and it's tiny. It's probably biting off a steam there. But because there's water in the drum as well in this process, unlike pure hydrogen, you can't really measure the water out of that. But you see it burning away there. So it's not on Earth. On Earth, it has already went through the process that we're trying to make it do work for us. Now, it's in water big time, mixed with oxygen, and it's also in fuels, in fossil fuels. Fossil fuels have a lot of hydrogen in them, and it's in many other products. Now, that bottle at the minute is too hot for me to touch. I cannot touch it. I want to give it a shake. So in the process, there it's gone now. So you see it's gone out. In the process of it doing what I'm doing here, it gives off so much heat. In fact, there's more heat gone off in the process of making it with aluminium than there is in the top, in my opinion. I can't just say that for sure. Now, if you want to store this, you cannot run a car on this. You cannot run anything, because the amount of hydrogen is huge. The volume of it is huge, so you have to compress it. And Toyota has a car, and it compresses it to 700 bar, and a bar is 14.5 atmospheric pressure. Right? Now, many oxygen cylinders that you buy for medical and industrial use are 300 bar. Now, if you work out how much 700 bar is by multiplying it, you see that it's 10.185. So it's 10.185. Now, the thing is, that's 10,185 pounds. So that's huge. There it's there, 10,185 pounds per square inch. You can convert that by converters if you want. Now, a shotgun barrel is proof tested for a service pressure of 3,000 pounds per square inch. 3,000 pounds per square inch. Okay. And so you have 3 and a third times the pressure inside of a shotgun barrel in the tank of a car. And that gives you some idea of the immense pressure that it has to be kept under. It's 3 times. Now, the batteries that are charged from it, or in an electric car, or in any, even in a tractor, are no more than 1 to 2 watts. 1 to 2 volts. Sorry. 1 to 2 volts. That's all they are. In any gang of batteries, they're all hooked in series, little batteries, and they're 1 to 2 volt. And if you buy the ordinary small battery in a shop, it's 1.5 volts. Now, the question to ask of all these happy talkers and great fellas is, why is it not used in the engines of cars directly? Why don't they make it, store it, and use it directly in the engine of cars? Because it will run in an engine. And if you go online there, you'll see several instances of where hydrogen is powering engines, usually small engines, okay? So the other way, so why is that the case? Well, the reason is they can't get the hydrogen under control. How would you bring it from that pressure, 10,000 pounds per square inch, down to a pressure where you could let it into the pistons and cylinders of an engine? So that's the big pressure, and how can you store it? Now, the other way to do it, and this is why I make an extra video, is fuel cells. And fuel cells take the oxygen and the hydrogen, and they reverse the process and they create electricity. Now, if you put electricity into water and by hydrolysis, you get out hydrogen and oxygen 2 to 1. If you can do the reverse and make the electricity, and that's the case with most processes in this world, it can be reversed. So that's essentially what is done. There's a cathode and an anode, and the two gases are fed in, and they give off electricity in very small amounts for each cell. But when you do it on them all, you have a big battery, and that's what the Toyota car, fuel cell car, does. Now, the H and O, hydrogen and oxygen, that's the symbol, and they give off a lot of heat. Now, this process gives heat. Burning hydrogen directly gives heat up here, and the process of the fuel cell gives off a lot of heat. And you could use it, I suppose, to heat the vehicle if you needed it. But there's a lot of heat in all of these processes given off, and there's big debates as to how efficient each one is. But this heat is a byproduct. And when you burn coal in the fire, you're getting heat, but you're also creating a chemical reaction. Okay. So another question is, if all this oxygen is available from splitting water, why not enrich the air in the engine with oxygen? And it must be remembered about an ordinary diesel or petrol gasoline engine is that when the combustion takes place in the chamber, there's 4/5 of the air that's in there compressed is nitrogen, nitrogen. Okay. When the explosion takes place and the fuel burns with the oxygen, it increases the heat of the nitrogen, and the nitrogen expands immediately. There's several experiments there, you can see it. The air doesn't just heat slow, it heats very fast. And that extra pressure of the heated nitrogen is also driving down the piston in addition to the combustion. A lot of people don't understand that. The nitrogen plays a role in the internal combustion engine. Now, there's a video there on YouTube, about the Toyota, and they run at 900 miles or something. A lot of this happy talk about electric cars and hydrogen cars are just advertising. Don't fall for this stuff. I'm not advertising. I'm getting nothing. I'm just trying to save the environment and save hardship. So Eamon Ryan had hydrogen buses. He got 2 of them. They were in the paper. I don't see them going anywhere. I'm in Dublin, and I hear no one saw them. So why not make electricity in power stations? Instead of putting it in cars, why don't they have a power station somewhere and use the process of fuel cells to make electricity? Okay. Now, what essentially the hydrogen car is, you have a thing making the hydrogen, and then you have it charges a battery, and that drives the wheels, electric motors. And that's remarkably like having an ordinary full electric car and having a diesel generator on a trailer behind you. It's remarkably like that. Okay. When you count everything, you're better off just burning your diesel and your petrol in the engine. Now, Indeed, the EU has declared gas and nuclear power to be green. So you could easily get away with that. Now you have to make it, you have to store it, and you have to use it. And none of these are viable. None of them. None of them. But of course, we have a 16-year-old schoolgirl, dropout, 16-year-old, telling us we have to go for all this. Oh, you have to go for it, right? And when I counter her, I'm talking about Greta Thunberg, I'm called a child abuser. So they use the young child, and she may change in time when she gets to know what the fraud she's involved in. They use her. And then people are afraid to tackle her. I'm not one bit afraid to tackle her and demand that I meet her and we have a debate. Now, so you have uneducated daydreamers, mostly young men, not always. And they vote and they encourage others to vote for the like of Eamon Ryan and the Green Party. The reality is anyone who invested in oil a year ago, when it was supposed to be going out of fashion, is now doing very well. And there's a panic on in the crisis with Russia and with the trouble over the Ukraine, that the Russians will cut off the supply of fossil fuel gas to Germany and other countries. And then they tell us you can do without it. Germany has more windmills than any country in the world. Now, I had a contractor doing a job for me one day, and I said to him, why don't you get your tractor running, electric tractor? And he says, when I see the Gardaí, the army, the ambulances, and ships and power stations running electric, then I'll do it. Why do they want the ordinary person to lead the way and invest their hard-earned money in electric cars, which you get 6 or 7 years out of, and then you need the price of it for a battery? Why do you get why do you get that? It's always to try and get the public to change. But there's no TD in the door except ex-TD Shane Ross that has an electric car that I know of. So what hypocrites. The problem is I can preach all day, I get my few viewers here. The idea is that might catch on over time, is that this still goes on. And the big question is, how can it go on? That's what I'm grappling with. Now, in the case of this experiment here, folks, it's still too hot to touch. I cannot touch that. There's great heat of that. And that's just to let you know that. It's already gone out. So that's nearly it all, folks. Hydrogen is nothing. It's a cod. It's baloney, and it's not going to work. And if it's counted right and assessed under Article 3.2 of the SCA directive in Europe, which has not been done, then that would be discovered. They're not doing the proper assessments. The engineers have been pushed aside for wishful thinkers and do-gooders of all kinds. Folks, that's my presentation to you. I'm now done with hydrogen. I hope you give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and please spread the word around, and I hope this video comes out. It's a test one with a smartphone, so, and I'm on my own, so we'll see you back for something else. Bye. We'll see you.